Hey everyone! I know it's been like a bazillion years since our last review. We've been using our editing capacity to make dubs and regular How It Should Have Ended, so we haven't always been able to squeeze our reviews into the schedule. But since it's Rise of Skywalker time, and because Star Wars is precious to me, I thought this would be the best time to make a return to the reviews. So, what do you say? You want to talk some Star Wars? Then let's get to it. Find out just how the Skywalker rose. Palpatine's back again and decompose the last McClunky. Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. Whether you like it or not, the official end of the historic Skywalker saga is here and ready to collect all of your fandom monies. Why is this the end of the Skywalker saga when the title is all about The Rise of Skywalker? Well, that drifts into spoiler territory. But I think ultimately it's because Disney has to cut ties to the legacy if they ever want fans to change what they expect out of these movies. Which is a really weird way to have to handle a franchise, if you think about it. But don't worry, I'm sure all of the fans will be absolutely supportive with whatever they do. I'm sure we'll all embrace the new changes and not hold anything to any certain standards. McClunky. Okay, I'll try not to make any more McClunky jokes. But I make no promises! Okay, back to the review. Non-spoiler thoughts. Rise of Skywalker. Director J.J. Abrams has returned with writer Chris Terrio, who is known for universally beloved films such as Batman v Superman and Justice League, and soon-to-be Justice League 2, apparently, to deliver an epic crowd-pleasing Return of the Jedi finale with loads and loads of cameos and loads of nostalgia. It is a very fast-moving adventure designed to wrap things up with one last hurrah circling around Rey and Kylo Ren's destiny. If you hated The Last Jedi, this film offers reasons to feel things are being course-corrected, and if you love The Last Jedi, this film doesn't really go too far out of its way to be a total retcon either. Did I love it? Not on the first viewing. It took letting it sink in and watching it again to feel comfortable with the story. It's not exactly the home run I would have wanted to experience, but I wouldn't call it the worst Star Wars episode either. It felt just like another Return of the Jedi, and considering each one of these new trilogy films has copied the template of the original trilogy, it's not that surprising. There were a few pacing issues that made the story feel really rushed, but if you are cool with the current state of the Star Wars setting, then you probably will enjoy this movie. If you were hoping that things were going to go back to the way they were, there's not much I can do for you.
Or is there?
I don't think I even need to say go check it out. I mean, everyone expects this movie to be a billionaire in a matter of days, so it's a safe bet you've already seen it. So let's just jump into spoilers, shall we?
Spoiler warning! Yes! Big spoilers!
I can't believe C-3PO and Maz Kanata moved in together after 3PO did that whole "I'm taking one last look at my friends." I'm just kidding, that didn't happen. But spoilers from here on out, people. What did I think about the story? I think for starters, it's very obvious this movie is overpopulated. There were a lot of moments where I just felt like JJ was letting his friends have single-line cameos, and that got a little overboard. We need to get that object from this planet. We need to go blow up that thing before that thing flies away. Where's Leia going? She's trying to save her son the only way she knows how. I get the need for exposition, but this time it really bothered me because it was a lot of exposition. I said before, I think the pacing was way too fast. This felt like 2 movies in one. I think introducing the Emperor again this late in the trilogy was a mistake. It just brought up so many questions, like, how? How? I get the feeling if you want those answers, you're gonna have to watch Mandalorian for a few years. But who's bringing him back? They show this lab with Snoke torsos in a jar, and I'm just like, can we get a little more info? No? He just has a mad scientist clone lair still? Did someone scrape his body off the floor before the Death Star exploded? Why does he even need a body if his essence can just exist? Doesn't matter. Palps is back and already has like 100 Star Destroyers fully staffed with a crew and new suits and soldiers. Don't ask where they came from. He's always got multiple logs in the fire. Don't question it. Nobody knew about it. It was all a big secret. Raising secret armies was apparently way easier long ago in a galaxy far, far away. All that matters is he's evil and he's back, so we gotta blow him up. And I gotta say, I'm just kinda over the Emperor and his obsession of sitting in a dark room, knowing he's in charge of all of these systems and planets that he has no intention of ever using for anything whatsoever. It's like, get a hobby. Get robot legs and arms if you're so feeble. I mean, there's other ways to enjoy life
My hobby is training apprentices.
Go outside!
No!
I mean, whatever. If that's what you like. If it were me, I would have probably made Snoke like a Count Dooku type character and introduced that the Emperor lives all the way back in The Force Awakens. I think that is why the Emperor feels like he's just magically back out of nowhere in this film. What about Rey and Ben? Rey and Ben are the soul of this movie to me. Without their story arc, this trilogy is just one big video game campaign. Poor Finn and Poe are really getting ripped off on their journeys. I like them just fine, but their stories just don't compare to Rey and Ben. Although I think Finn is going to surprise us one day with some Force ability. I mean, that whole "I never told you" I think is meant to sound like he's saying he loves her, but I think really he's feeling the Force. There is a moment where he senses Rey when she falls. But anyway, Rey and Ben are cool. I really like seeing how their Force connection grew from The Last Jedi. So Ben is the grandson of Anakin, and Rey is the granddaughter of Palpatine, making them a Force dyad, something we haven't seen before. I thought that was a cool way to connect them and bring the fear of the dark side to both characters. It also kind of feels like they're giving the Mary Sue label a little more merit.
See, she's not a Mary Sue. She was just part supervillain the whole time. Ha-ha! So take that, you grumpies. You can't be upset about it now. Right? Yeah.
So yeah, Rey's a Palpatine, which means at some point, Palpatine hooked up with someone, which is just kind of weird to think about. I still say Rey Kenobi sounds so much cooler.
Rey Kenobi.
But in a world where the bad guys are always more interesting, I can see why making Rey come from an evil lineage was more appropriate. What did you think of the Wayfinder and the dagger? This dagger. Okay. So the Emperor is hiding out on his secret floating pyramid stump thing, and apparently the only way to find it is with this Sith Wayfinder. I thought the Wayfinder thing was believable, but this dagger, y'all, you need the dagger to find the Wayfinder.
Look, it's a map to the Wayfinder. Isn't it cool and mysterious?
Who the heck made this dagger? Was it someone who knew the shape of the destroyed Death Star? Are we to believe that the Emperor controlled someone to craft this dagger with the secret instructions and the visual markings to match the shape of the wrecked Death Star to point someone to a hidden Sith Wayfinder?
Sound like such a dork right now.
Shut up! This is important stuff here! I mean, why would the Emperor do that? Why don't you just talk straight to Rey?
Rey, I am the voice in your head. I know how to find your parents. Go to Endor. Find the Wayfinder.
I mean, if they did that, that would probably make Rey's journey a little too much like Elsa following a voice across the ocean. But hey, you guys are the ones obsessed with girls crossing the ocean, Disney, not me. Let's move on. What do you think about Leia? I knew they were using cut elements from previous films and making digital clothes to give Leia a solid presence in this movie, so I knew she wasn't going to be in it very much, but I think considering what they had to work with, they handled it really well. Her exit was way more personal than something like her ship just exploding in the first 10 minutes, which is what I expected the film to do. You know, like John Connor in that Terminator movie.
Oh snap, he did not just spoil that.
You get what you deserve, Dark Fate! Anyway, I thought Leia was great, which ties into the other cameos.
What about Force Ghost Han? I mean, Memory Han.
I heard in a video before seeing the film that there was going to be a Force Ghost Han scene, and I was like, oh, they better not. That's going to make me mad. And surprisingly, I actually loved that scene. They smoothed it all over with Kylo Ren just saying that one line, "You're just a memory." And I was like, oh, that's different. You see, he's just a memory. He's not a Force Ghost, he's just a memory. Okay, that's all right. You guys get a pass. Plus, it links back to the last encounter they had in The Force Awakens, but instead of a dark way, it's like a light way. It's really kind of a cool thing. It's like poetry, see, they rhyme. I mean, it would have been a lot more emotional if that scene was actually Leia force projecting herself to talk to Ben instead of Han Solo, but they obviously didn't have that footage. So even though I felt like Harrison Ford was just getting paid to come work for one day, I still like that scene. In fact, most of the OG cast in this movie feels like they got hired to only come in for one day. Han talks for like a minute, Luke's like, here, have my lightsaber, take my ship, see you later. Even the Emperor was bound to that giant robot umbilical cord thing, so his scenes felt really basic. I just picture them all showing up the day of and just reading from cue cards.
Let the ceremony begin.
Okay, that's good. Now say, this will be the end of the Jedi.
This will be the end of the Jedi.
That's great. Now say, do it.
Lando was the only one who felt like he had more days on set, but even still he didn't really do much, which is unfortunate.
Did you like Zori Bliss?
She gave Poe a little more backstory, but wasn't like, oh man, I want to see more of her.
Did you like Jana?
She was okay. I like the idea of the former stormtrooper angle. I expected that to maybe mean something more to her and Finn.
What about General Pride?
What about Dio?
I don't care. He's like the rebel version of the mouse droid.
What about Cloud?
No! Get that freaking wiener slug out of here. Come on.
What was your favorite?
My favorite was Babu Frick, hands down. He's so clueless and innocent. I don't know why, but that guy really made me laugh. Probably because I have a 2-year-old that babbles just like him. I'd say he's my favorite new character.
What was your favorite?
Oh, are we doing that? My favorite moment, I don't really have a favorite moment. Rey shooting lightning out of her hands was a little shocking. But there wasn't like that big, huge moment that was like, this is why I love Star Wars. I think my favorite moment is supposed to be when you hear all those voices from the past films, like all of the Jedi talking to Rey and getting her fired up. It just didn't hit for me. I don't know. I feel bad. I should be like, yeah, they got this person, they got that person, they got that person. It's got all of them, y'all. It just, I don't know. I saw it coming, you know? We've been talking about it. But at least I got this moment.
This is our galaxy now, Palpatoots. And then kiss.
It just all felt kind of predictable. What else can I say about the movie?
But what was the point?
Cash money. That was always the point. Cash money. Cash money. This is the part where I try to focus on the message of the film and look for an obvious theme that was presented. Sometimes it's more emotional, but I don't think this movie was emotional. It was trying so hard to be, but it didn't hit me in the heart. You didn't pull at my heartstrings at the end. So what was the message? If anything, I would say the message is anyone can change. Finn was a former stormtrooper, and he turned away. Poe was a former spice runner, and he turned away from that life. Jana tells a story about her stormtroopers all laid down their guns and just chose to not fight. It's never too late to choose the good in you. Ben thinks it's too late for him, and Han tells him he's wrong. Luke even admits to Rey that he was wrong. Rey comes from an evil family and changes her name to Skywalker at the end. She chooses good. There's also this festival earlier in the film called the Celebration of the Elders that C-3PO mentions only happens every 42 years. So if you go back 42 years, that takes you to the year 1977. A year a certain movie came out. It's almost like The Rise of Skywalker is meant to be a celebration with all of the characters from the past of this giant franchise. One massive crowded party with lights and music and making out. What a conclusion! That's not repeating Return of the Jedi at all. So what are my final thoughts? Do I think this was the worst Star Wars movie ever? Not by a long shot. Was it the best send-off to the Skywalker saga? Nah. I mean, Luke didn't rise, Anakin didn't rise. Only Ben Solo got to be reborn, to then immediately die. It's really sad. I guess he got to be like Darth Vader after all. Okay, those are my thoughts on The Rise of Skywalker. I hope you enjoyed them. Let me know what you thought of the movie in the comments. Did you love it? Did it fill you with rage? I'd love to hear your thoughts. We are going to be taking a break for the holidays, so this is likely going to be the last video of the year from us. But we are definitely excited to get on Rise of Skywalker, so be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our episode when it's finally ready. It's gonna be fun. Okay, that's all for now. Thank you so much for watching and for sticking with us another year. We really appreciate you, and we hope to see you again next time. Bye!